Okay, in this lab we're going to do some humanitarian OpenStreetMap mapping. So we've talked about OpenStreetMap, OSM, in the past, sort of this volunteer generated data. Everyone gets together around the world and maps things. It goes up onto a big server. People can then download it, whatever they need. So everyone's contributing. We don't have to pay for it. Good and bad, you don't have to pay for it. That's one thing about OSM. The other thing is that it's not complete, right? We need people to map things. So anyone around the world with an internet connection can log on to this website and find things to map, right? So, and then there's the humanitarian OpenStreetMap project, which communities around the world ask for help in mapping things. They need map data. It's not developed yet, and they say, okay, everyone go here and map something, and this is a way to organize all those people, make sure they're not overlapping their tasks, and do everything together, right? So we're gonna check this out in this lab. We're gonna map something for an hour. I just want you to, it's pretty easy, straightforward, but I'm gonna walk you through how this is done. Spend an hour doing some mapping, and we'll be good to go. So let's start. If you go to HOTOSM in your Google browser or just hotosm.org, and you will get to this website. Here is everything you wanted to know about this humanitarian OpenStreetMap effort. Feel free to poke through that if you want to know what's going on, but it'll give you some context as to what the organization's about, all the different groups that ask for help, and you can get on their newsletter or whatever you want. I don't care. It's up to you. In order to get started, though, we're gonna hit the Start Mapping button right there, the big black button there in the middle, and it will bring you to this tasking manager. These are all the different projects that people want mapped. So we're gonna choose one of those. If you are not, you need to be logged in with your OpenStreetMap account in order to do this. I'm already logged in and have that saved, but you will probably need to go to osm.org, set up a username and password. They want to keep track of who's making the edits, if in case you're doing something wrong and messing around with things. It's an accountability tool, and I think it's a good thing. It's just a way to keep track of who's doing what. So it's a good thing. So you're gonna have to set up an account for that. It's just username and password. So username, password, and so nothing too much, not too much information. So once you're set up in that and you are into this tasking manager, what I suggest is going to difficulty level and hitting easy. You could probably handle moderate. It tells you, what they are. I mean, actually, you could probably do moderate. Let's just set it to moderate. So I'll show you how to do this, right? So you choose a project. This is the earthquake in Morocco. In September, they're trying to map out the areas that are impacted. They know they're impacted, but these people don't show up on maps, so they're trying to get that. So I selected one of those, and it brings you to the map, the area that needs to get mapped, and there's a description here. So read through that, kind of gives you some context as to what happened, and then you're going to hit contribute, and you're going to be brought to this page here. This is the tasking part of it. This is kind of keeps everyone from bumping into each other when they're doing their work. And read through the instructions, right? You'll be able to get to these instructions, but it kind of tells you about the area, tells you about these homes, how to map them. A lot of them have an open center courtyard, and they're saying, just keep that as part of the building. Some pictures to kind of give you some context as to what you're looking at. So it's difficult to map out all of these buildings, but and things like this might look like a building from a top-down view, but it's more of a livestock pen. So you're doing your best here. If you watch the YouTube video, that might help a little bit. So every organization will set up their own instructions, and we'll go from there, right? So when you're ready, you hit you select one of these boxes. You have a few different things you can do. The white ones are available for mapping. They have not been fully mapped yet, so you can click on that and start to draw the polygons. We'll do that first. The blue ones are ready for validation. So what happens is people go in, they do their map edits, they map things out, they say, okay, I'm done. They'll have another person come in and validate it and put a second set of eyes on it just to make sure that everything makes sense and they haven't missed anything. And then once it's mapped, it's up to the world, and anyone in the world can get to it within a few minutes. So it's pretty cool. The green ones are already done. They've been both mapped and validated. So let's click here on this one. This is white, so it is available for mapping. I'm going to hit map selected task, and it's going to bring me to this area. You'll notice this purple box. They're saying don't map outside the box, just map inside the box. Other people are mapping outside of the box. So stay within there, right? And if you want the instructions again, you click on the instructions and you'll get all that. One of the important things is it says please use the Esri world imagery. If you go to the background settings, click on Esri, make sure it's set to Esri world imagery. It's there. If imagery is unclear, use Bing imagery for comparison, so you can kind of get a sense of they're a little bit shifted. So you got to stick to one. They want everyone to use the Esri, and they're telling you to map buildings. Try to map out these buildings. So, all right, so let's go. Let's get into this. So I'm gonna scroll into the areas, and they want to map out all of these buildings. And you can see it's kind of tricky, right? Whether it's a building or a pen for livestock. And you kind of scroll around, and you got to kind of make the call as to what's what, right? So I may, like this one, I may edit that, knowing that that's I'm going to delete that, and then I'm going to redo it. But this is how I do it. So if I want to create this building here, I'm going to hit area. I'm going to click on the corner, click again, click on the four corners. When I'm done, I right click. When I'm done with that polygon, I'm going to right click it again and hit the Q shortcut, and you see that kind of squares everything off to 90 degrees, because that's what most buildings are at 90 degrees. So that's fine. I need to select a feature type. At this point, I don't really know. I'll just call it a building, and there we go. I've got a couple edits made, right? So I fixed that. So what they're saying is go map everything else, right? Everything that's not mapped, right? So area, click, double click to end it, right click, square. It's subtly squared it off. And I added that as a building, right? So we just kind of keep going and look for buildings that certainly seem like buildings. Like this to me seems like a building. So I'm going to go area, right click, square, select feature type, building, and there we go. And you kind of keep going, right? And it can be a little confusing. You're doing your best, right? You're kind of showing that there certainly are a collection of buildings here. Might not be exact, but it's a good start, right? Like those, that doesn't really look like a building to me. There's a lot of information here already. So what you do is you just scan around, staying within this purple line. I don't see any other buildings over here. All right, not much out here. And this is sort of the drill. You're just kind of poking around. Sometimes you'll go to an image and nothing is mapped, and you just keep going. And sometimes it's like this where it's pretty well mapped out, and you're just kind of finishing it off. And you want to be the one to say, okay, it's done, right? Like, so is that a building? I don't think so. I think it's like a livestock pen. What is that? Sort of looks like a pretty big building. Looks like it's got like a parking lot. So I'm going to map that, right? Area. And since I can't really tell what it is, I'll do that, right click, square it, select feature type, building. So every now and then you're going to have to save it. You see up here on your right, it says like saves, and it's a number 6. I made 6 edits to this. So I'm going to click that save button. It's going to say, oh, wait a minute. One of the polygons that you put down doesn't have a descriptive tag. Right. So it's, you want to have this thing already in there. Right, it's this one. This is white, right? See, that's white. The other ones are kind of red. So I'm going to click on that, select feature type. I forgot to do that. Kind of checks this for you. Hit building. Okay, it's a building. Now if I hit save, it's going to say okay. It's added in this tag that we need. I don't really need anyone to review my edits, and I'm going to hit upload. Right. So we've added a few buildings. Now, I can keep going. In my mind, that might be a building. I'm going to add a building there. Right-click square, select feature type building. And I'm going to go through and do my best to identify the buildings, knowing that this is incredibly hard. And you're never going to be certain as to everything you're getting, especially in a place like this where, you have like livestock pens and buildings. So in any event, let's say I think this one looks good, right? I'm going to make the call on this, that everything is mapped here, right? So when I'm done, I go back to completion. I say, yeah, this is completely mapped. I'm going to hit yes. And then I'm going to I gotta make sure everything is saved. So I'm gonna upload that. So it wouldn't let me submit until I had everything saved. So now I've added that last building, and now I can submit this. It's completely mapped. Submit that task. So now when I go back, that is blue, right? So now someone else is going to come along and validate it. So we want to do some you can do validation tasks as well. Let's say let's validate this small one, right? It's blue, so it's going to be validated. So I'm going to hit map another task, and I'm going to say, okay, is this thing completely mapped? Honestly, it is not. I don't understand. I'm a little confused as to the area to be mapped. So I'm just going to hit no and submit that. Maybe I'll go to another one. So it's sort of bringing me to a different square. So that's, if I want to get out, hit no and submit. Let me just just grab a sort of squarish one. So, okay, so basically, okay, is it completely mapped? Are all the buildings in here mapped? No. So that is looks like there are other buildings to map in here. So they've mapped all of this as a swimming pool. What is this yellow? A residential area. I'm gonna hit no and submit that and go back here and say okay. Now it's opened it up as boy, that's not good. They have called this buildings. Well, it is buildings. Well, that's all mapped. In that area, in this area, someone just called that building. Really that should be deleted, and then all of that should be kind of separately mapped. So kind of tedious, but that's the name of the game. So I'm going to hit that as not completely masked, hit submit task, and it changes it back to white. It's saying, okay, no, that's not done. This is where that validation process comes back in. So someone else is going to see that as white, go back in and delete that off and create new things, right? So that's the drill, right? So find a project that needs has some white that needs mapping, or even some of these blues that just need validation. Such a difficult area to map, but it's not completely mapped either. So I'm going to hit no, and it's bringing me to that one. So I don't know, looks a little wonky in terms of where it's taking you, but that's the drill. So you can, if you find that these you get a project like that and you're like, oh my God, this is a little overwhelming, go find another project, one that is pretty straightforward and has good instructions. They kind of range. So that's the drill. So spend an hour on this. I think that's, if you can do some good, map some roads, map some buildings, you're going to be in good shape, and you will definitely have helped this effort and helped whoever needs this to get done. So that's the drill. So when you're done, right, you've spent an hour, go to your profile and take a screenshot of this, right? This is I'm a 10-year veteran. Look at that. It'll show you how many intermediate or how many things you've done. This may take like 10 minutes to kind of update after you're done. So you might have to go come back later and log back in 10 minutes later, an hour later, whatever it is, for these things to update. They don't update automatically. And just give me a screenshot of your name and the number of chain sets that you did, and I'll be able to tell that you did that, and that will be how you submit this lab. Okay, so that's the drill. Let me know if you have any questions. This can be done anytime with any computer with a browser. And best of luck. Figure it out. I know it can be a little wonky. I understand that, but there are certainly projects in there that are pretty straightforward. So I think that's the key, finding one that really kind of is straightforward and you can work with. is key to getting success for this one. So good luck, and thank you for contributing to the world's information.